Hi, Emma here. In today's episode, I'll be joined by John Aspinall, all the way over from the US. He's got extensive experience in click-through rate optimization and conversion rate optimization on Amazon. So if you're interested in increasing your sales and profitability on Amazon and you're tired of bleeding money on Amazon PPC, this is the episode for you. Welcome to the latest episode of the Amazon Profitability Problem Solved podcast. I'm your host, Emma Bagley, and today we are talking to John Aspinall, all the way from Florida today, but natively we live in New York. John is a guru in the Amazon world. And he has so many titles behind his name, so much wealth of experience and expertise. But today he would like to be introduced as the Chief Evangelist and Creative Director of Velocity Sellers. And John, can you explain a little bit more about why I have said you have so many titles behind you? Tell me a little bit more about your background for the listeners if they don't already know you. And if they don't, you should definitely go and check out John Aspinall on LinkedIn. Over to you, John.
No, totally, for sure. I appreciate it. I know it's a mouthful, right? So for me, I do a lot. Apparently, I don't like much sleep at all. But yes, so I am the chief evangelist and creative director here at Velocity Sellers, which is a full service agency. But I am also CEO and founder of my own consulting merchandising strategy agency that I've had for almost now going on 2 years, which is Aspie. And then I also have a LinkedIn ghostwriting service or agency for e-com professional CEOs, execs, which is called Ecom Ghosts. I'm also a strategic advisor at Product Pinion. So, you're not wrong in saying that there's a lot of hats that I have to keep on flipping off and wearing. But I think, obviously the main one is the chief evangelist and creative director at Velocity. I think that's positioning, and I've only been here, I think this was my second month so far, but it positions them to really decommoditize themselves against a lot of other full service agencies really in the States, right? We're talking from across the pond, but here in the States, there's a lot of folks that, the term full service agency gets thrown around like, a glass of water, like, oh,
Same
I do full
in the
service,
UK.
right? But
Same in the UK.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, though, when you see someone speaking about something, and I think this is where there's a little bit of synergy between, how you operate and how we operate. Most of the times you'll see someone speaking at an event, on stage, on a webinar, you like their tactics, you like what they're talking about, and you want to go work with them. And then you go work with them, you sign up for their service, but then you get passed off to somebody else. You get passed off to, a junior designer or someone. And that's not the case here at Velocity. I know that's not the case with you, that you're very hands-on with how you operate with your strategy and stuff like that. And I think, here, me at Velocity now puts them in that arena where, if you see me talking about best tactics for creative, for design, for strategy, all these kind of things, well, I'm actually going to be the one that's actioning our design team in your account. So there's none of that, well, I really liked hearing about that person, and when I signed up, I got somebody else. The buck stops with me when it comes to that kind of stuff over here.
Oh, I'm excited to learn more. And also, just for listeners, you also come with a bit of a big, long history in the Amazon world. So where did your career start at My Amazon Guy, or even before then?
No. Yeah. So I've been in e-com, it's 2026 now. So it's officially, I can say 20 years.
Wow.
Because back in 2006, that was my first job ever in e-com, 2 years outside of college, working above a deli here in Staten Island, New York City. Well, not here, I'm in Florida now, but when I'm home in New York City, and working for an automotive restyling e-com site selling spoilers, rims, wood dash kits for cars. But back then, Amazon was like not as huge as it is now. So their main thing was their .com and eBay. So got my little taste into that. Then it's parlayed and spiraled out of control from there. So then I went to go then work at a manufacturer. And then from there, I went into cell phone accessory business as a reseller on Amazon. Then from there, I then went to go work at a cell phone accessory manufacturer. So from a reseller to then an accessory manufacturer, selling on Amazon and 1P and 3P, and really seeing the strategy of a hybrid model there. That was a lot of good experience that I was opened up to with that. That even today makes a lot of sense as to why, if you're selling on 1P, you do want to have a 3P for a lot of different things. I could talk about that later. But then from there, went into the daily deal space back when Groupon Goods and Living Social and Zulily were huge. I went to go work in that space. Then for a period of time worked, because that bubble kind of broke and the daily deals kind of fizzled out. Worked for some textile companies as an e-com manager for them. Took a little bit of a break for a handful of years. Went to go work here in New York City as a corrections officer on Rikers Island, which is basically jail, because in New York City, everybody works. The trend is to work for the city. So, police, fire department, corrections, sanitation. The idea is that, hey, you make $100,000 a year after 5 years and you get to retire in 20 years and have a pension. What they don't tell you is that you got to make it to 20 years. So while I was there, COVID had hit, and a friend of mine in the space said, you want to come back into e-commerce and work from home, make $100,000 a year? I was like, work from home? Great. I don't have to deal with inmates and jail? 100%. So I went to go work at Canopy Management. So I just dove back into e-com, working at agencies. From Canopy, I then went to my Amazon guy. That's where I really struck my stride, I guess I want to say, when it comes to like LinkedIn and scaling on LinkedIn and, using LinkedIn as a tool, because I was in sales, to be able to have that voice. And I think, my old boss, Stephen Pope, said it well, where it was, don't talk about everything, go inch wide, mile deep. So I focused on creative, and that's where it took off from there. And then, Mag was, heavily using PickFu. PickFu picked me up and said, you want to come and talk about everything that you love to talk about and nothing else? I was like, sweet. So I went to PickFu. Then I went over for a little bit to Trellis for about 6 months or so, and, stuck my feet into the ad tech tool space. Realized that, I really just like to talk about the creative, and, while the ads management and DSP is super important, really my affinity is for the actual creative. So I've known Velocity for quite some time. The owners over here, they're actually from Long Island, so they're not too far from me. And it just made the most sense. So yeah, that's John Aspinall's roadmap in a nutshell.
Well, really excited to dig deep into all of your expertise today. So let's start the formal questions. So click-through rate optimization. What does it mean to you? How do you measure it, test it, improve it? And most importantly, how does it link to profitability?
Yeah, let's unpack that, right? So with click-through rate, there's a lot of different things that affects click-through rate. But I like to focus on what you can control, but even more so what you can control that makes the most sense as for the most impact as of right now. So for your click-through rate, things that are affected or that affect click-through rate are your title, your price, your main hero image, how the product is shipped, your reviews. Pretty much that's the bucket of what affects a click-through rate. Now, when it comes to your reviews, it is what it is, unfortunately, right? So you have a good product or you don't, and you have a problem with your product, or you don't have as many reviews, you go out and do Vine. They think they're the almighty reviewers and they over scrutinize yours, and you thought you were doing a Vine review and you would get the best reviews, and they come back with a 3-star. It happens, right? So there's nothing you could do besides just keep on cranking away and doing good business that's going to help your reviews. When it comes to your title, I'm a very big advocate of not testing and doing A/B testing on your title, because
not
your title
testing on title. Sorry, John.
Yeah. So your title, here's the thing. Your title should be built out for SEO, should have the keywords, should have the structure for searchability. You shouldn't be asking on like a product opinion, Susie from Ohio, which title do you like better, this one or this one? Because Susie from Ohio might say, well, I like this one better for how I shop. But in reality, the way that she likes it structured might not be the best for actual SEO. So that's why, I stand in the camp of let the data, any crawlable text that's indexable for SEO, you don't want to play games with testing against consumers. I could stand out from the pack, but that's my opinion. Then the other thing is price. So you could control your price to affect your CTR. For example, if you're a $30 product, you want a better click-through rate, you can make your product $5 tomorrow, right now, and you'll get a better click-through rate, right? But that doesn't always mean you're going to get good profitability. And actually, that means you're just a race to the bottom, and you don't want to do that, right? So you do want to test with, coupons, deals. Those badges do affect CTR. Things like subscribe and save for consumables, that does affect CTR. But that leads us all the way back around to the image. So the image, your hero image, is what heavily affects your CTR. And it is something you could change right now and make a difference in your business. So it really all depends on the category that you sell in and what you can and can't do, for lack of a better term. So I have what I call like the no-fly zone for certain categories, certain things like jewelry, apparel, footwear, sneakers, shoes. They're typically very kind of lockdown categories on what you can and can't do. Meaning, I talk about showing packaging, showing call outs, showing enhanced post edits, and all these other kind of things. And when it comes to apparel, well, that'll get your listing suppressed, because typically for apparel, they want a model showing wearing the product. They don't want extra tags or call outs and stuff like that. So it really all depends on what category you're in. And then also understanding risk reward. So, Amazon has their terms of service, and Amazon has image guidelines. A lot of folks think that, well, John, image guidelines says plain white background, just the product, nothing else, no packaging, no call out, no. That's cool. Look what Amazon does themselves. Amazon themselves go against image guidelines. They're called guidelines for a reason. If it depends on the category you're in. If you take a look at like sheets, bed sheets on Amazon, according to Amazon's guidelines, you should only be showing sheets in a stack, and that's it. That's it, right? But if you go in sheets, you'll see a bedroom, you'll see a headboard, you'll see a nightstand, you'll see the bed made up, you'll see swatches. And my name has come up multiple times at Amazon in Seattle, because people have told me about you talking about this, John. And my thing is, you have to do what's best for the consumer, right? So there's a very fine line between just being gray hat, black hat, spammy, and doing what's best for the shopper of the consumer, right? So, if you have a bottle of supplements that also has packaging, we'll put the packaging behind the bottle and then enhance the packaging to show the value prop as to why you. If you're made in the US, so that's a very big value prop for something consumable, and it's not shown clearly on your packaging, well, show it clearly. Show the red, white, and blue flag. Show the product outside of the bottle so people understand that it's a capsule, not a tablet, or it's a powder, not a granular, or something like that, right? So that this way people understand more and they're able to decide. Or if you're a flavored product, so let's say you sell protein powder or you sell a drink mix and you're grape flavored. Well, make it really clear that it's grape flavored by showing grapes, right? Because what happens is, if you're running an ad on something and it's not super crystal clear that this is grape flavored, one of three things is going to happen. The best case, I see that I like it, I'm going to click on it, cool. Or they don't see that it's grape, they click on it and they're like, I hate grape. Now they've clicked on it, they've cost you, ad spend, and they're not going to convert. Or the opposite, where it's not going to be clear at all and they're never going to click, right? So you're losing sales from a bad click. You're losing sales from them never clicking. So that's why you really want to streamline it to make it very, very clear. And in my opinion, a really good hero image is one that could sell just on the hero image. Like, if you could show me why it's good, why it's valuable, talk about the value prop, show me the product, show me everything I need to know, and I don't even need the rest of your images in the image stack. Or if I could shop just on that, that's a good hero image.
I like that advice. So why don't we take a deep dive then into one of the categories on Amazon right now and see what we see what you like and don't like about some of the hero images from the search results page. So shall we share screen and have a look at US?
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of compare the US and the UK and how, and if there is any differences between how brands are showing up in different categories. Barbecues. Yeah. Okay. So what are you observing so far? This is .com, isn't it?
Yeah, this is .com. So we're looking at barbecue grills. And I think it's very interesting that, first off, Rufus is now peppering themselves in very closer to the main search. You can see over this here at the top, this is all Rufus that's coming in. So when I talk about for beginners, for gas grill versus charcoal, so that's very, very interesting. But the other thing is, if you notice that this is what I call a one-by SERP, search engine result page. So it's just not 5 across, it's one product down until you hit ads. So it's interesting how the ads go 5 across, but the regular products themselves are in a one by, right? So that's even more critical and important for your hero image, because if you're at another category, right, you would have someone next to you over here, someone next to you over here. So technically, if you were organically number 4 or 5, you should be on this first page without me having to scroll down.
Scroll too much.
But in categories that are a one by, your organic 4 or 5 might be a couple of scrolls down, right? So that's why when you look at like barbecues, right, what I'm seeing, and the tactics I'm talking about, sometimes larger brands won't ever do because they don't have to do them, because they're huge brands, but you still, it would behoove them in best interest to do this kind of stuff. So you can see there's different types of strategies they're going for. They're going for the product, just showing the product, right? They're going with the product open and in use. They're going with, some people have call outs over here. This is super important too. So this is a sponsored ad, right? So this is $334. So it's not cheap. But that call out over there, I can't read that. Can you?
I don't know if it's at 2026. Right? I think that, or it might say, no, I can't read it properly.
I think, 2026 new is what I have to squint
imagine
and
that
see.
On mobile, so, you wouldn't see that, would you?
No, right? So here's the thing. You're already running with a call out. It already got approved by Amazon because it went through the layer of just going live organically, but then another layer of running it as an ad. So you got through both of those barriers, but you failed on the execution because 2026 new, I don't even know what 2025 looked like. So you're telling me something that it's not relevant to me.
Yeah,
so
it's not going to get me to click through.
No, exactly, right? What's better is, using that call out to say, well, how many burners do you have, right? This is 2-in-1 propane gas with side burner, right? Or, okay, so it's a 4-burner flat top. So talk to me more about that kind of stuff. Like, how much room do I have to barbecue, right? Space enough for 40 hot dogs, right? Something along those lines, give people a better perspective, right? When they say 46,000 BTU, maybe the expert knows what that is versus like 42,000 BTU. But I really want to know from the consumer standpoint, how does it affect me, right?
Is it big enough for my family cooking needs?
Exactly, so that's where I would lean into it, because then over here, this says 4-burner as well. So why is this 4-burner more valuable than this 4-burner? Because this is cheaper, right? So I need to know why I'm going to be paying a premium for something like this. And if it's not clear, right? So you can see this one has a side piece. This one has 4 or 5 knobs. Well, this one only has 4 knobs and a 5th knob over there. So that's the thing. So people, when they're shopping for something like this, they really need to know what they're getting into. So I'll click on this one. So you can see this over here on the bottom. It says like bonjour, and it says like baguettes and bread. No one's doing that. No one's cooking on a grill in the States with bonjour and a bread basket underneath it. It's just not happening, right?
Yeah, what's that silver case? That looks like a poker case or something like that, like heavy duty.
Well, that's probably the case that comes with this one for the tool set, right?
No.
For I believe here, if you click on it,
confusion kills though, right?
Yeah, so it's not really clear. The other thing too is they're showing Coronas. Yeah, you can't show like brands like that. Here's the other thing too. If I like it and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. What if I hate Corona?
Mm.
What if I think Corona is like a gross beer? Immediately I'm turned off, right? So that's the thing. It's not giving any additional value and it's not realistic. And you could tell this is AI,
Hmm.
right? Because it doesn't say bonjour, it says bon d'or. So it's not accurate and it was used in the wrong way. I don't even know what kind of bread this is right here, this spiral thing. It just looks off, right? So for me, from where I stand with this kind of thing,
What's that grill one? Look, if you
they
go scroll up a little bit, John, the one that's just got like a random picture of a grill hanging out the side of the barbecue. That one there, third M. It's got like a call out with the grill.
yeah.
It's not really.
So this one, to cost them some money and click on it. So what they're doing over here is they're just zooming in and showing you the fact that this is still valuable, right? But it's not saying what's clearly what it is. So basically what this one has is has grills on either side, but a flat top in the middle. So that's good if someone's cooking something like vegetables or something that's going to fall through the grate
Hmm.
of the grill, that you'd want to have that over there. But I think a better version of that would be like an aerial shot showing the actual cooktop versus what everyone's doing over here is showing this, because what they're doing is they're showing, what happens if I don't even know what that is. I'm assuming that's oil, right?
Yeah,
So
oil spray.
and then is this little pot included with it? And
Mm.
the food over here, it just looks very AI, very kind of fake. So you have to just really know the avatar and know the shopper and what is someone typically cooking when they're doing like barbecue. So you can see over here, like other folks just have it closed. Or there's one over here that's showing like, here's a really big fail. Look at this. Ready? So there's meat over here that's really poorly done. But then over here, they're showing whipped cream and
Jam.
strawberry jam. Why on earth would I ever use strawberry jam and whipped cream on barbecue? Right. So you could see that in something like this, with AI nowadays, it's progressing and enhancing every single day. It's just getting better and better. So I'm extremely confident that if I was to take this and put it through like Gemini Nano Banana Pro, that I would get more realistic looking images that are more accurate. Because at the end of the day, this is not what someone's using a barbecue for, right? So I think that a lot of these brands, and I'm willing to bet if I go even further on this, if I go, well, actually, it's kind of shocking. This is a 1P listing. So this is sold and shipped by Amazon. So that's even more kind of frustrating because Amazon is taking inventory to an extent with something like this, that they're putting their money where their mouth is. And it's a hero image that looks like this.
Mm.
I'm willing to believe if I was to go a little bit further into this, and I don't want to say yes or no, but I'm willing to believe that this is probably a China direct seller, right? At least from what I feel and what I'm looking at, because yeah, it's very, very shocking to see something like that be in like a 1P listing. And I mean, the rest of their images in their stack don't look half bad. I mean, this is a valuable image over here talking about the cooking area and what you can expect. Like, I like that. I want to know. That's very tangible for me to understand. Okay, 28 drumsticks or 15 steaks. That's
Although
very
those
good.
burgers and those steaks do not look very appetizing, do they?
Oh no. This, first of all, I don't even see a burger at all. I see shish kebab, steaks, corn, and drumsticks, right? So where's the burger, right? Where's the burger? We only see like 2 drumsticks. So that's the thing, is that you really just want to make it make sense. And I feel like, brands like this, they probably don't care as much, because to them, especially being on Vendor Central, do they really care enough, right? Because Amazon's already buying the inventory. So to them, they got the PO, they ship the inventory to Amazon for all intents and purposes. And do they care if it even sells? I mean, I'm sure they care, but at the end of the day, do they care as much versus a seller that's
until
on
their
3P
POs go
really
down and Amazon stops ordering because people are buying from the competition.
Yeah, so that's the thing, like really just it's not. You either have people that have very like Traeger. Traeger's a huge company. That's a very large brand here in the States. So they're not going to do these tactics, these call outs, even though it would be in their best interest, because someone that's buying a Traeger grill, they already know it's quality. They know it's good. They've already heard that it's amazing, right? And image, so their image stack, warrants that, but they don't have to show it open, show these call outs, all these. It would be in their best interest, but again, $540, $600 according to Amazon in the past 30 days. It's a solid moving product as it is. Could they do better? 100%. But what happens is they lose on branding, because if they show this open all the way, the Traeger logo won't be there.
And
right?
that beautiful
that would be the pushback.
Brand color.
Yep, that would be the pushback they would probably have as a brand.
What strikes me most, and it'll probably be the same when you look at the UK, is the list at the search results page. They all look pretty much identical. So as a shopper, what's going to influence me? Maybe price, maybe reviews. Otherwise, I'm going to have to click in every single listing to understand why one is more expensive than the other. And that's costing money in advertising, isn't it?
Yeah.
As the customer does the
something
research.
like this, something like this that's not like a knee-jerk purchase, right? It's going to be focused on price. So if I go with what Rufus says, and I go under best grills for beginners under 500, well, Rufus is going to go out there and kind of curate them. It's not going to give me like that SERP where I can go and take a look. So it's going to go and see, hey, here are the best ones. And it's going to say this one. And then if I'm a consumer like this, and let's say I just need a barbecue and I want like the best one that's in my price range, well, then I'm going to default to something like this. And I'll be like, okay, cool. Well, Amazon's own tool is saying this is the best one, right? So then I'm going to go with that.
Interesting. That one's got 16 reviews and only, the top one, 16 reviews, and it came up as the top one.
Yep. So with something like this, they're looking at, because there's a deal attached to it, right? Yep. There's also solid reviews, even though it's only 16 of them. But it's also looking at the velocity of like, okay, it's sold, 100 plus in the last 30 days at a 4.8 star with some sort of deal attached to it, right? So that when I'm shopping, if I was looking at grills, right, here's how I would look at it. Like, okay, I need it right away. So what can I get tomorrow? Right. That's how I shop, right? I need it right away. I want to see what I can get tomorrow. And I'm not willing to spend more than $200. So what are my options? Then it drills down, okay, what I can realistically get. And then now that I'm looking at this over here, well, this is the only real one that's actually a grill that what I'm looking for at this.
Solid review,
That's how I typically shop, right? And I think that for a lot of people, when they go on Amazon, like we go on Amazon because we're in the space and just look at things randomly. Most people, when they go on Amazon, it's either something broke and I need it to replace it, or I need this and I don't have it. Those are typically the two pain points, and usually they need it like yesterday. So I'm inclined to believe, based on doing this for quite some time, that more often than not, people are going to shop how I would shop. And I also look at like my wife as a good kind of like example or case study for this kind of stuff, because I look at how my wife shops. She doesn't have a computer. Everything she does is on her iPhone. So I look at her kind of over her shoulder when she's shopping, and I ask her sometimes, like, well, what made you do that? Like, why did you choose this over this? And what was your drill down to get to over here? And more often than not, for her, it's she types in the pain of what she needs at that time, and then she's going visually based off of that. So, me being in the space for a while, I've, I don't want to say trained my wife. That sounds bad. She's not a German Shepherd, but, conditioned her to not buy anything that's not FBA, right? So she knows off the bat, just from a bad experience where we've ordered something that was FBM, and we didn't have the coverage from Amazon support with FBM. It had to open A to Z claim because it wasn't good. So she won't even look at anything that's FBM, right? So that's another hurdle too, where, if you are in the space of something that is only FBM, right? Let's say it's like a pool or something really large or something heavy that everyone around you is merchant fulfilled, that's okay. But if you try to go into Amazon and you're doing, FBM, but the rest of the space is FBA, well, that's going to affect your click-through rate too, because then what's going to happen is no one's going to click on something that's they're if it says, okay, ships in 3 to 4 days, and the guy next to you is like, get it tomorrow. Well, that definitely affects the click-through rate as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And conversion and Amazon profitability, PPC profitability, full stop. Thank you for that. So we've mentioned PickView and Product Pinion, and we are actually going to do a separate recording, really deep diving into Product Pinion. But just like top level advice, is it always worth investing in tools such as PickView and Product Pinion to test imagery?
Yeah, so I know the pain that a smaller brand has when it comes to testing, because I've spoken to so many of them. They will say, I just want to get more sales. I don't really think I can warrant spending $200 to $800 in testing because I'd rather put that money into ads. So they learn the hard way that if you don't test before you do that, you're going to wind up paying the money anyway. Yeah. So you're either going to be paying it for doing it afterwards or paying the price of low sales, no sales, and then increased ad spend. So I definitely think that brands have to do this kind of stuff, even larger brands. I mean, at Velocity, we talk to huge mid-market enterprise level brands that do 8-9 figures on Amazon alone, not even talking about their D2C website and everything else. And even those brands are testing the smallest little things that you would think, why even test this? Because the smallest change in a click-through rate can increase your sales astronomically, right? Because forget about the fact that if all you're testing is your hero image, let's just table for a second your image stack, your A+, your all the other stuff, right? If your conversion rate is the same, so let's say your conversion rate doesn't change, and I'm going to make up a number. Let's say your conversion rate is 10%, and your click-through rate is, let's just round numbers, your click-through rate is 1%, and your conversion rate is 10%. If all you do is test and focus on your hero image to bring your click-through rate from 1% to 1.5% or 1.1% to 2%, and your conversion rate stays the same, you make more money. You make more money. That's the simplest, easiest, most basic rudimentary math ever, right? So I think when brands look at this, they should focus on that as an incremental process, right? Where what can you affect now to make more sales? And when it comes to something like that, advising on Product Pinion, we talk to large brands, and it's like there's so many tests you could run, and sometimes people's heads will spin where it's like, well, we could test everything, and like you can and you should, but I think there's a hierarchy to it, right? For smaller brands and people that don't have unlimited marketing and branding budgets, where it's like, okay, if my conversion rate is this, and I'm not talking about affecting it now, how can I make more money? Well, change your click-through rate. And now that you've changed your click-through rate and your click-through rate is increased, then it's like, okay, cool. What's next in the stack? Well, next is the image stack. And let's test that to now that we've increased the click-through rate, now let's talk about increasing the conversion rate. Because I find a lot of brands, what they'll focus on increasing conversion and focus on the image stack and the PDP and the A+, but then forget about the click-through rate. So you need both. I'm a big fan of click-through rate over conversion rate, because for me, if you're getting more clicks, even if you don't affect your conversion rate, you make more money. Everyone likes making more money without doing more work, but you do need both of them, right? So you need to, but first comes the click-through rate, because if you're talking about conversion rate before click-through rate, well, you're optimizing something that no one's seeing.
Exactly. And one of the things to think about is not trying to do too much and too many tests and too many changes all at once, because then no form of testing is accurate, is it? What is making that impactful change? So much value there. Thank you so much. We've answered so many questions already ahead. So yeah, looking ahead, what do you think will matter more on Amazon in the next 6 to 12 months, John, than people are realizing today?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of people are really underestimating, even myself, Rufus. And I think that Rufus was a side little bar. And I think it's increasingly and incrementally getting closer to that top search bar, and that's going to start to affect more. And I think people optimizing for that, it's important. I think that people are really underestimating, even in 2026, that majority of shopping starts on mobile, and that a lot of images and listings are not optimized for mobile. And especially in categories where if people are on mobile and they have, let's say, for lack of a better term, impairments. So if you're targeting a supplement that's for 55 and up, right, and they're on their phone, and if it's not large and clear where they can see it, it's a huge missed opportunity, right? So I think that really underestimating Rufus, people that don't pay attention to that are going to lose out. I think that people not paying attention to optimizing it for mobile first, because think about it, like what's the con in being optimized for mobile first if they go on desktop? Oh my God, I'm on desktop. This infographic is so large and it's in my face and it's telling me exactly what I need to know. I'm not going to buy it. No, that's why optimize for mobile first, and then desktop, it's going to follow. It is what it is. I also think that a lot of people are thinking omni-channel without being strategic about it. Everyone throws around the word omni-channel, where it's like, oh, I sell on Walmart, I sell on Amazon, I sell on my Shopify site, I sell on TikTok, I sell on Target. And then a lot of people don't understand, well, is your product good for Walmart? Is your product good for TikTok? And I think that you have to be self-aware as to where you're spending your money. There are products that are... Yeah, there are products that can fit all those buckets really good. There are products that will do really well on Walmart but fail on TikTok. There'll be lots of products that do amazing on TikTok and fail at Walmart, or vice versa, right? So I think that's understanding, is your product demonstrable? Does your product really have a viral flair to it? Is your product really just utilitarian? Also understanding that you can't just copy and paste your Amazon assets over to Walmart, over to your Shopify, or you take your Shopify stuff and just copy it everywhere. You look at big brands like Dude Wipes, right? Their image stack for the same product on Amazon is not the same on Walmart, and they're massive on Walmart. They're in brick and mortar stores. They do tons of stuff with Walmart, but they understand, they're self-aware as a brand, that the messaging that we're talking about on Amazon isn't going to translate the same to the Walmart consumer, right? So I think and a lot of brands don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear, oh, I need new images for Walmart, I need new images for Target. I don't want to do that. Just copy it. But then when they see that they're not moving the needle, it's like, well, why is it not working? Well, it's not working because you're talking to an Amazon consumer, but you're on Walmart, and they're not the same.
Yeah, people shop in different ways, aren't they? Also, I suppose it's really, from your experience, it's really depends on what stage you are in the product life cycle as well. If you're launching, you're mature, like all these different marketplaces are not relevant to all those different stages of of your brand and your product range as well. So yeah, thank you for that. Kind of come to my favorite part of the show now, which is the quick fire round. So there is no right or wrong answer to these questions. If you can kind of give me your...
There's always going to be a right answer. You just have to say that. There's always going to be the right answer.
So if you say your answer and then just give a quick overview as to why you gave that answer, that would be amazing. Sure. So question number one.
Sure.
Just for listeners, like John has not been, I've not shared these questions with John in advance. It really is like top level first line answers. So the most overrated Amazon growth tactic right now?
Amazon DSP.
Ooh, that's controversial. Go on, explain.
I don't think... A lot of people jump on the bandwagon of whatever Amazon cranks out, I should be doing. And I believe that you should be doing them if it warrants your product, and if it warrants your category. I don't think Amazon DSP is it's a buzzword that everyone's talking about. I must be doing it. And then if you're doing it in a category and you're running, Prime Video ads on TV or Kindle lock screens or all these other sort of things for something that's utilitarian, that people don't need additional selling to, especially when it's going to be very, very top of funnel and not really, okay, I spent 20 grand this month on DSP. It's the end of the month. What's my ROI look like at it? And that's when brands get that sticker shock of, oh, wait, it's more of an upper marketing funnel kind of play, and it takes a little bit with attribution and all that kind of stuff. So I think that that's thrown around really a lot that not every brand needs, especially when they have lackluster images and listings already, that they could be taking that money and doing the bread and butter of optimizing the listing better and then running traditional sponsored product ads or even sponsored product video ads as those start to roll out. I think those are compelling and interesting. So I'm not in the camp of whatever Amazon's new, it's not good. It depends on your category and what you're selling.
Great answer. Thank you. So one thing you would fix first if profit was under pressure.
So if profit's under pressure for a brand, the one thing that I would fix first is, well, it's kind of a loaded question, right? So why is profit under pressure? Is it because of inventory? Is it because of pricing? Is it because of assets? Is it because of spending too much, right? So I think it depends on what you're doing right then and there. But if you're under the gun and you're like, okay, I'm selling on Amazon and it's just not profitable, I think you have to be self-aware and reflect as to why it's not profitable. Do you have a commoditized item versus a decommoditized item? Is your price point, if you are a commoditized item, is your price point in line with it? And if it's not, because you're going against China Direct, well, then why are you selling that product in the first place? So I think that's the biggest thing is it all roots back to the product, right? So if you're not profitable right now on Amazon, the product is the core. And I think you need to look at it and say, do I have a commoditized item, which is fine, or do I have a decommoditized item? And I think that's the different paths you go down. So if it's a commoditized item, that's okay. Do I have branding around it? Is my price point for a commoditized item reflected accordingly, right? So if I'm $3 more for a soup ladle that China Direct is selling for $3 less, am I talking more into the branding as to why mine's $3 more? Oh, I'm not. Well, I'm never going to be profitable because I'm $3 more of the same exact thing that China Direct is selling. And if I'm a decommoditized item, is that clear enough for my price point? Is it clear enough for my image? Is it clear enough for my assets? So I think it really all stems down to the core fundamentals of the product. And then from there, then you're looking into like, okay, well, if I'm a commoditized item and I'm more expensive than China Direct, and I'm not saying why, but I'm spending 20 grand a month on ads, well, you could look at it and reverse it back to, it's not because you're spending $20,000 on ads that you're not profitable. It's because you're spending $20,000 a month on ads for a commoditized item that's a higher price point that's not clear to the shopper, right?
Thank you. Great answer. I think we already know the answer to this question. Click-through rate or conversion for biggest gains?
Oh, it's click-through rate, right? So a lot of people will argue and say conversion rate because conversion rate is what actually makes the money, which is true because you can get all the click-throughs that you want, all the clicks that you want, but if they never buy, well, that doesn't make sense, right? But I think that click-through rate 100% for a listing that is converting now, right? So you can't take it literally. If you're doing a brand launch and a product launch and you have nothing, you can't say, I have the best hero image, but I just launched and I don't have any images in the stack. I have no A+, I have no content. You can't do that, right? You have to have some sort of meat on the bones already. But I think for most brands and most sellers, it's click-through rate. Because at the end of the day, like I said, that basic math, well, let's say your conversion rate is 5%, 10%, 12%, whatever it is. If that stays the same and you get more clicks, now, a lot of people will say, well, hey, John, I don't want to get clicks. I want to get valuable clicks that are actually going to convert. Well, that's why you have to say what people need to see and hear in the image. You can't just show something amazing and make a very bold claim on a call out on packaging, but then when they go to the listing, it's like, no, I said lifetime warranty on the box, but when I click on the listing, it's like, lifetime warranty, but only for this and only for that, and only like you can't like bait and switch people, right? So I think if you make it super clear from the hero image what the value is that they're getting, and you have a listing that has the basic fundamentals, Click-through rate 100%. Because if you think of it in the inverse, if you say conversion rate and don't focus on click-through rate, and you make the best converting listing in PDP out there, cool. What if no one sees it? Right. So
Invisible. Yeah.
that's
No
the
one's coming
problem.
into your
Yeah, you're
shop.
invisible. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay, so this isn't an either or. The question is product opinion or PickView always or so tools like product opinion and PickView always or sometimes.
So I think it depends what you're looking to do, right? So you can run product opinion all the time on everything, right? So there's never a point when you're done testing. So even if you've buttoned up and tested for your hero image, your image stack, your conversion, you versus your competitors, in 6 months, in 12 months, that's not going to be the same. It's not going to be static. It's always going to be dynamic. So that's what you're always going to be doing testing. There's always something to test on, right? So even large, mid-market enterprise, huge brands are always testing. As a matter of fact, those are the folks that test the most, right? So if that's any kind of like inclination as to if you should be testing, when you find out that larger brands are testing all the time and they're testing smaller things incrementally at scale, well, that should be the telltale sign for even smaller brands. You always have to be testing because testing is not done. Because I've had clients before that we did a hero image for last year. Today, they need to do a hero image again because the SERP, the search engine result page has changed. New sellers come on board, new tactics are being done, new strategies, new ways of doing things. So yeah, you always have to be testing.
And shopper fatigue as well, isn't it, is real.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, where it depends too, like during different, think of it like this, like seasonality, like seasonal merchandising. So in Q4, if you're selling something that's giftable, like you want to change your hero image to have a little red Christmas bow on it. So you don't want to keep it static and you want to make sure that it changes for the rest of the year. Or let's say you're a product that is good for the, beach time during the summer, but also giftable in Q4. Well, in Q4, your hero image is going to have a red bow. And then maybe during the summertime, you're going to have a little sand and maybe a flip flop behind it or something like that, right? So I think, or if we take an example of the grill, right? In Q4, you want a red bow on the grill, right? But during the summer months, you want like the beer and the barbecue and the burgers and all that kind of stuff. So seasonal merchandising is another thing that a lot of brands don't do that would definitely behoove them for sure.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, that wraps up the show for today. So, John, if how can people learn more about you? Obviously, LinkedIn, you are very, very active on LinkedIn, wealth of kind of value given every day. How else can they find out more about you or Velocity Sellers?
Yeah, no, totally. So LinkedIn is probably the best thing for seeing all tips and tricks that I put out. Velocity Sellers, velocitysellers.com. I love that it's such an easy thing. You don't have to change wordings or spell things. It's very, very simple. Just velocitysellers.com. But yeah, definitely hop over there. The sales team is really, really solid. That's the other thing too about Velocity is that they get it. Right. So the salespeople and the account executives that they speak to on the phone when a brand speaks to them, they understand the pain that a typical seller has and all the kind of tactics I talk about. And the cool thing is I meet with them once or twice a week to talk over these tactics. So they already know talking to brands like, wait, this is a new thing. Wait, we're perfect example, brand story module now being not replaced, but optioned out for shoppable collections. Right. So a lot of brands don't realize that they have a brand story module. It sucks. It's not good, or they have nothing at all. But if it's demonstrable and they're able to show videos, well, shoppable collections is perfect for that, right? So they already know that going into, conversations with brands and stuff. So totally.
Excellent. All right. Lovely. Well, thank you so very much for your time, John.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure chatting with you.